Well, good morning, Daily Bible Time. Dominic Steele, Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us. And now we are in Acts chapter 10, and we're going to be picking it up in verse 9. And the Apostle Peter, of course, he's right at the center of God's saving plans and purposes. He's a Jew. He's been Jesus's right-hand man pretty much from the start of his ministry, and he is down at Joppa. And so what happens in sentence 9, and again, we see God's initiative here. Peter went up to pray on the housetop about noon, and then he became hungry and wanted to eat. While they were preparing something, he went into a visionary state, and he saw heaven opened, and an object that resembled a large sheet coming down, being lowered by its four corners to the earth, and in it were all the four-footed animals and reptiles of the earth and the birds of the sky. Now, this is an echo of Genesis 1, when God creates the creatures. And here they are, all of God's created creatures. And verse 13, a voice said to him, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." "No, no, no, Lord," Peter said. "I have never eaten anything common and ritually unclean." Now, back in Leviticus, there were instructions for the Jews not to eat particular foods. Now, this is the Jewish law. Let me give it to you from Leviticus chapter 11. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron. This is Leviticus 11:11. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, "Tell the Israelites, you may eat all these kinds of land animals. You may eat any animal with divided hoofs and that chews the cud. But among the ones that chew the cud and have divided hoofs, you're not to eat these ones. The camel, although it chews the cud, it does not have divided hoofs. It's unclean for you. The hyrax, though it chews the cud, does not have hoofs. It's unclean for you. The hare, though it chews the cud, does not have hoofs. It's unclean for you. And the pig, though it has divided hoofs, does not chew the cud. It is unclean for you. Do not eat any of their meat or touch their carcasses. They are unclean for you." Hence, Jews do not have bacon. Now, look at Acts chapter 10, verse 15. Again, a second time, the voice said to him, "What God has made clean, you must not call common." This happened 3 times, and then the object was taken up into heaven. Now, in our teaching on Sundays at Village Church, we've been working through the Sermon on the Mount. And we looked at the line from Jesus early in Matthew chapter 5, where Jesus said, "I did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law." And I used the metaphor of the Pink Floyd album cover from Dark Side of the Moon, where white light hits the prism of the person of Jesus and then is refracted in all different kinds of colours. And we've seen that refraction where Jesus, on some issues, like you've heard that it was said, "Do not kill," but I say to you, love. It intensifies. Jesus, the prism of the life, death, resurrection of Jesus, he gets to the heart of it and intensifies it. But in Mark chapter 7, there's a little moment of refraction where it is implied, well, more than implied really, that Jesus is calling all foods clean. Let me give you that verse. Jesus called the people to him and said, "Hear me, all of you, and understand. There's nothing outside of a person that by going into him can defile him, but the things that come out of a person are what defile him." And when he entered the house and left the people, his disciples asked him about the parable, and he said to them, "Are you also without understanding? Do you not see that whatever goes into a person from outside cannot defile him, since it enters not his heart, but his stomach, and is expelled? Thus he declares all foods clean." Now, what's said there by Jesus is made explicit here. The clean, unclean provisions of the Jewish Levitical law were temporary. They were designed to keep Israel distinct, holy, and separate. Still, the Gentiles could receive the forgiveness of sins, could be given the Holy Spirit on the same basis through faith. Now, that is such a revolution in thinking for the Apostle Peter. It's been coming in all sorts of ways, this idea, but it is a theological earthquake for him, and he has sent it to turmoil because he has centuries of thinking to rethink through. So verse 17, Peter was deeply perplexed about what the vision he'd seen might mean. The men who'd been sent by Cornelius, having asked directions to Simon's house, stood at the gate. They called out, asking if Simon, he was also called Peter, was lodging there. Now, Peter's a Jew. people from Cornelius are Gentiles. It would be radical for Peter to have them in the home, to interact with them as friends. But that's exactly what he does, and we will explore that tomorrow as Peter starts to live out this vision of not calling unclean what God is now calling clean, and we're beginning to see the gospel going to the Gentiles in this chapter. Thanks for joining us on Daily Bible Time today. Look forward to your company tomorrow.